खुदा बड़ा है। आती है आंधियाँ तो कर उनका खैर मकदम, आती है आंधियाँ तो कर उनका खैर मकदम। तूफान से ही तो लड़ने खुदा ने तुझे गढ़ा है। ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी हैं, ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है। सोना है और भी निखरता, अग्नि में तप के सोना है और भी निखरता। दुर्गम को पार करके हिमालय कोई चढ़ा है। लाएगी रंग मेहनत आखिर तुम्हारी एक दिन, लाएगी रंग मेहनत आखिर तुम्हारी एक दिन। होगा विशाल तिरुवर वो बीज जो पड़ा है। ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी हैं, ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है। सर्व शक्तियों से जब साथ है हमारे, वो सर्व शक्तियों से जब साथ है हमारे। हर काम उसके रहते हरगिज़ हुआ पड़ा है। कभी हारना ना, हिम्मत का कदम बढ़ाओ, कभी हारना ना, हिम्मत का कदम बढ़ाओ। हजारों कदम बढ़ाने वो सामने खड़ा है। ये मत कहो खुदा से मेरी मुश्किलें बड़ी हैं, ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है। ये मुश्किलों से कह दो मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है, मेरा खुदा बड़ा है।
Shanti. I request everyone sit down in a comfortable position. We will begin today's session with a short guided meditation. Let me detach my mind around me. Bring my attention completely on myself. Me see myself as a tiny star on the center of the forehead. I am a pure divine being of light. Purity is my true nature. My mind creates only pure and elevated thoughts. My mind always stays in the present moment. My mind always cooperates with me. I am the master of my mind. I am the creator of my every thought. My mind has the highest concentration power. I am ever happy and peaceful. Mind is stable in all situations. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. How is everyone doing today? How is Sunday going for everyone? You can type in the chat box. Okay, peaceful, good. Are you enjoying this book that we have been reading? Okay. Okay, very nice. Very good to hear all your responses. So today we will continue with chapter 2, right? We will finish chapter 2 today. So we will begin with the origin of fear. I will request our team member to mention the page number again in the chat box so that everyone knows which page to refer to. Okay. So hard copy, page 35 to 38, and PDF, page 44 to 47. So if you can zoom the screen a bit, then everyone can read easily from the screen. Yeah, this is fine. Okay. So we will start with the origin of fear, right? So the seeker is asking the author a question. You mentioned fear as being basic underlying emotional pain. How does fear arise, and why is there so much of it in people's lives? And isn't a certain amount of fear just healthy protection? If I didn't have a fear of fire, I might put my hand in it and get burned. So, this is a question the seeker is asking the author. So, let's see what the author says. The author tells the reason why you don't put your hand in the fire is not because of fear, it is because you know that you will get burned. You don't need fear to avoid unnecessary danger, just a minimum of intelligence. Okay, a box is coming on the screen. Okay. The reason why you don't put your hand in the fire is not because of fear. It is because you know that you will get burned. You don't need fear to avoid unnecessary danger, just a minimum of intelligence and common sense. For such practical matters, it is useful to apply the lessons learned in the past. Now, if someone threatened you with fire or with physical violence, you might experience something like fear. This is an instinctive shrinking back from danger, but not the psychological condition of fear that we are talking about here. So, we are talking about the deep rooted fear which lies inside the mind of each individual. So, he's telling that to avoid fire, we don't need to create fear. We just need some common sense that if we put our hand in the fire, then obviously we will get burnt. So then the author tells the psychological condition of fear is divorced from any concrete and true immediate danger, which means that the psychological condition of fear, the fear that lies in the mind of individuals, it is not based on reality. There might not be any immediate danger, but the mind will still create fear. It comes in many forms: unease, worry, anxiety, nervousness. If you scroll down, tension, dread, phobia, and so on. This kind of psychological fear is always of something that might happen, not of something that is happening now. So, psychological fear is based on imaginary events which might not even happen in reality, but the mind considers that as real and starts creating fear. You are in the here and now, while your mind is in the future. This creates an anxiety gap. And if you are identified with your mind and have lost touch with the power and the simplicity of the now, the anxiety gap will be a constant companion. So, the more you're identified with your mind, the more you see yourself through the lens of your mind, the more you define yourself based on the thoughts that your mind creates, the more you lose touch with the power and the simplicity of the present moment. You can always cope with the present moment, but you cannot cope with something that is only a mind projection. You cannot cope with the future. So you can always cope, you can always deal with that which exists, right? Which is right in front of you, which is real, which exists. But you can never deal with something which is imaginary, which is a creation of the mind. Moreover, as long as you're identified with your mind, the ego runs your life, as I pointed out earlier. Because of its phantom nature, and despite elaborate defense mechanisms, The ego is very vulnerable and insecure, and it sees itself as constantly under threat. So, why does the ego see itself as constantly under threat? Because it is the false image. It is not the true image of the self. It is a false image. And that is why the nature of the ego is very vulnerable and insecure, and it always sees itself as under threat. This, by the way, is the case even if the ego is outwardly very confident. So it will put up the illusion that it is very strong, it is very confident, but in reality, it is not. Now remember that an emotion is the body's reaction to your mind. What message is the body receiving continuously from the ego, the false mind made self? Danger. I am under threat. And what is the emotion generated by this continuous message? Fear, of course. So what happens? Whatever we think in our mind, it gets reflected in the body as well, right? So that emotion then expresses itself in the body, and when we are living through our ego, we are constantly living in a state of fear, in a state of danger, and as a result, a lot of physical issues also start appearing in the body. Today's world, a lot of people is living with this psychological fear, and that is why you can see there are so many health issues, because that emotion is being reflected as such in the body. Fear seems to have many causes: fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being hurt, and so on. But ultimately, all fear is the ego's fear of death, of annihilation. To the ego, death is always just round the corner. In this mind identified state, fear of death affects every aspect of your life. For example, even such a seemingly trivial and normal thing as a compulsive need to be right in an argument and make the other person wrong, defending the mental position with which you have identified, is due to the fear of death. If you identify with the mental position, then if you are wrong, your mind based sense of self is seriously threatened with. Like when you read this, the author is telling that the ego is scared of death. It is the fear of death that always makes the ego feel that it is under danger. So the question is, who are you? Are you a soul or a body? Can everyone hear my voice now?
Yes, sister, you're back.
Yeah. So, what will you say if I ask this question? If are you a soul or are you a body? What will you say? Okay. Okay. So everyone is saying that I am a soul, right? So now we need to understand then that why did we develop this fear, this psychological fear? How did it become a part of us? What happened to us that when I, the soul, first came on this earth, I knew that I was a soul, right? And my mind identified itself to being a part of the soul. But then slowly, as days began to pass, the soul began to forget the time of soul. And then came a time when the soul completely forgot its true identity. That was the time the mind didn't know who it was anymore, right? So its eyes, its vision fell on the world outside. It first saw the body, then it saw the external things around it, like the relations, the connections, and the physical possessions, and it defined an identity, made an identity of itself from it. And it thought that, okay, this is what it is. But then came a time when the costume, the body, became old and the soul had to change the costume. So that was the first time the mind created the fear because the mind didn't know who it was anymore. So when it took on the new costume, then it thought, okay, this is my identity. And then it again created an identity of itself on the basis of that body, on the basis of physical possessions, relations, connection. But again, with that costume, it became old and the soul had to change it. So again, it took another body, another costume, and it continued for a long time. So each time the soul had to change the costume, the mind would create a fear. And it became a sanskar because it repeated this action over and over in the mind, right? And it became a sanskar, it became a habit of the soul, of the mind to feel fearful, and it got deep rooted into the consciousness. And that is why the author is telling that now we constantly, the ego, which is a false image, constantly lives in the fear of death. The mind constantly functions on the basis of fear because it does not know who it is anymore. It does not want to lose the identity it creates for itself. That is why even a normal conversation, a normal argument, it doesn't want to get defeated because it considers everything as the end. Because for the ego, everything being wrong means it is going to die. Being wrong means it is going to end. So if you identify with the mental position, then if you are wrong, your mind-based sense of self is seriously threatened with annihilation. So you as the ego cannot afford to be wrong because to be wrong is to die. Wars have been fought over this and countless relationships have been broken down. So we have been so deeply attached with our false self that we have fought wars and we are still doing that. And so many relationships have been broken because of the false identification. Once you have disidentified from your mind, whether you are right or wrong makes no difference to your sense of self at all. So the forcefully compulsive and deeply unconscious need to be right, which is a form of violence, will no longer be there. So when you are not connected, when you are not identified with the ego, when you know that you are a soul and you are completely aware of that consciousness, then it won't matter to you whether you are proved right or wrong outside because you know who your true self is. So when you observe your true self, when you sit down with yourself, when you observe your true self, you know that that part of you is always stable. It is not affected by whether you win or lose in the outside world. You can state clearly and firmly how you feel or what you think, but there will be no aggressiveness or defensiveness about it. Your sense of self is then derived from a deeper and truer place within yourself, not from the mind. So, your true self is that part of you. Your true identity is that part of you which can never become extinct. You, the soul, have existed since the beginning of time. You have existed since the beginning of time. You have existed since the beginning of time. Sorry, there is some network issue because of which the internet is fluctuating a bit. So, what I was telling that we, the soul, we have always existed, right? And there has never been a time that we have not been there. Our physical possessions, our physical body, everything changed with time. But our spiritual self
Shanti, we are sorry for the inconvenience. Sisters, it's fluctuating. So till then, anyone can write it down in the chat box what we have read till now. अभी तक क्या हमने सुना, क्या पढ़ा, चैट विंडो पर आप डाल सकते हैं.
Is my voice audible now?
Yes, it's audible.
Okay, okay.
Sister, you can switch off your camera, so it will be.
Yeah, I'll. Your sense of self is then derived from a deeper and truer place within yourself and not from the mind. Watch out for any kind of defensiveness within yourself. What are you defending? An illusory identity, an image in your mind, a fictitious entity. By making this pattern clear, you will start understanding that Sister, I'm not able to see the screen that you are sharing.
Sister, I have already shared it. I guess that's a network issue from your side. Hello. Okay. So I guess there's a network issue. I'll continue it till that time. Yeah, the screen is visible here. Okay, that's great. So sister was reading so in the light of your consciousness, the unconscious pattern will then quickly dissolve. This is the end of all arguments and power games, which are so corrosive to relationships. Power over others is weakness discussed as strength. True power is within and it is available to you now. So the power of now is the true power to being in the present. So we are in the disidentify, right? The fake image. Now we know the power of now the power of being present, and their self identity. So, anyone who is identified with their mind and therefore disconnected from their true power, their deeper self rooted is being, will have fear as their constant companion. So, what the author is saying, so anyone who is identified with their mind and therefore disconnected from their true power, they are deeper self rooted in being. See, mind is the faculty of soul. Mind is the power, the thinking ability. We are not a mind, but we are the master of the mind. We will have fear as their constant companion. The number of people who have gone beyond mind is as yet extremely small. So you can assume that virtually everyone you meet or know lives in a state of fear, right? Everyone has a fear of death. हमें पता नहीं है ना कि कब हमारा शरीर छूट जाए, right? We don't know. So there is the fear of leaving our body, basically. But after recognizing or after realizing our true self, that we are not a body, but we are a being, energy, a source of light, who is eternal and immortal. So the fear of death or the state of fear is gone. So the intensity of it varies. Of course, as you practice more meditation, as you practice being more in soul consciousness, the intensity of fear goes very less. It decreases, right? So it fluctuates between anxiety and dread at one end of the scale and a vague unease and distant sense of the threat at the other. Most people become conscious of it only when it takes on one of its more acute forms. The next title is The Ego's Search for Wholeness. Another aspect of the emotional pain that is intrinsic part of the egoic mind. Other one is the extrinsic and the other is the intrinsic, the inner part. Okay. Of the egoic mind is a deep-seated sense of lack or incompleteness, unsatisfied, emptiness inside, incompleteness, of not being whole. Why there is ego? Because there is a sense of incompleteness. Somewhere I am lacking. There is incomplete. So in some people, this is conscious, in other is unconscious. We have to check in ourselves. I'm conscious about that somewhere I'm lacking and I have to fulfill in myself, or there is some I'm unconscious about it, that I'm lack of these qualities or the virtues, and I have to fill the gap. So some are conscious and some are unconscious. So if it is conscious, it manifests as the unsettling and constant feeling of not being worthy or good enough. Yeah. So there is a self-doubt. Then we have self-doubt questions, feeling not worthy, not good enough. If it is unconscious, it will only be felt indirectly as an intense craving, wanting, and needing. So, the author is explaining the difference between the conscious person and the unconscious person who feels the sense of lack of emptiness or the uncompleteness. What it is, he's saying that if the person is conscious, he will feel unworthy. He will feel that he's not good enough. But he's conscious. He knows that he is incomplete somewhere. But if the person is unconscious, he doesn't know that somewhere I lack something. There's a gap within myself. So what he will be feeling, that he will be having an intense craving, some wanting and need of appreciation, need of attention, craving, wantings and everyone to be seen. The inner child wants to be seen somewhere. The inner child wants to be appreciated somewhere. So it's the craving. In other case, people will often enter into a compulsive pursuit of ego gratification. See, ego gratification and things to identify with in order to fill this hole they feel within. So they strive after positions, money, success, power, recognition, or a special relationship, basically so that they can feel better about themselves. See, the author is saying, so they are the begging bowl. So I want love, I want money, I want attention, I want success. They're the beggars. Basically, they want love from others. They are not ready to give love, but they seek love from others because they're unconscious. But even when they attain all these things, they soon find that the hole is still there, that is bottomless. Then they are really in trouble because they cannot delude themselves anymore. Well, they can do, but it gets more difficult. See, many people are there who have lots of money, they are very successful, they have power in their hand, they have even recognition, they have a very good relationship, but somewhere there is some unsatisfaction or something incomplete. कुछ तो रहा हुआ है, कुछ तो बचा हुआ है. It is because there is no supreme's love, there is no self-realization, the divine love for this the soul is craving for. This all the cravings the mind is craving for, the body needs, but the soul needs the pure, the unconditional love from the supreme, the true knowledge of the supreme. So there is some incompleteness still after getting this, but due to the lack of knowledge, they are difficult to find it. Now it's time to get the knowledge. So, as long as the egoic mind is running your life, you cannot truly be at ease. You cannot be at peace or fulfilled except for brief intervals when you obtain what you wanted. When a craving has just been fulfilled. See, आपको भूख लगी है, आपने खाना खाया. आपकी क्रेविंग्स जो भी आपको आइसक्रीम खानी थी, आपने आइसक्रीम खा ली. आपको अच्छा लगा कुछ समय के लिए. You are happy for a few short interval of time, for the short duration, but after what? After that, what it is? So you will feel empty again. So, since the ego is derived sense of self, it needs to identify with external things. It needs to be both defended and fed constantly. It's not about for the short duration of time. The egoic mind needs constantly appreciation, constant recognition, because there is lack of incompleteness. And now the thing is, we have to complete ourselves with the power of love, with the unconditional love. The most common ego identifications have to do with possessions, right? मैं ये हूँ, मैं वो हूँ, मैं ये कर सकता हूँ, मेरे बिना और कोई ये कर ही नहीं सकता. Possessions, the work you do, social status and recognition, knowledge and education, physical appearance, special abilities, relationships, personal and family history, belief systems, and often also political, nationalist, racial, religious, and other collective identification. None of this is you. See, the egoist, and the author says none of this is you. So right now I'm asking you a question. Okay, just ask yourself, whenever you introduce yourself, I am this, I am that, and whatever the things and all, I have too much of experience and this, I hold this position, I hold this power. Okay, आप कुछ समय के लिए अपने सारे अनुभव, अपने सारे पोजिशन सभी साइड में रखो, बियॉन्ड. पर वो मैं कौन हूँ? वो सारे अनुभव जो है, वो सारे positions, whatever the work you have done, it is let's go beyond and see ourselves. Okay, get a powerful point of light, right? Yes, but what it is like, we are beyond the mind also. We have to see all these things being a detached observer. What my mind is thinking, because I am the master of the mind. being an observer, detached observer, then only we can hold all these positions in right manner. Okay. So do you find this frightening? Or is it a relief to know this? See, he said, none of this is you. Right? So he's asking, the author is asking, is it frightening? Because for the one we are running of, whatever we are doing of, and we are none of this. हमारा कुछ है ही नहीं, सब temporary है. So, do you find this frightening, or it is a relief to know this? All of these things you will have to relinquish sooner or later. See, everything is temporary. We have an exit, we have an entry, and we have a fixed exit. So we have to fix in our mind that we are a traveler. हमें एक entry है और हमें एक exit है. We have to enjoy this journey in a beautiful manner. Nothing is ours. Nothing is ours. Not even this body. Nothing. So, whatever we are, wherever we are, just we have to be in present. Be happy wherever you are. Perhaps you find it as yet hard to believe. And I'm certainly not asking you to believe that your identity cannot be found in any of these things. So, yeah, identity pe question aa gaya na. We are saying I'm this and I'm that, and the author is saying, no, you're not that. So you're a point of light who holds all these positions. ये सारी अमानत है आपकी. Okay. You will know the truth of it yourself. You will know it at least. You will know it at the latest when you feel death approaching. See what the author is saying. ना जब हम death को approach करेंगे, then we can find it. Death is a striping away of all that is not you. The secret of life is to die before you die. See how wonderful he's saying. Just experience that you have, like, die before you die. Okay, you are died. Just experience this. The sharir, the body is burning in fire. Everything. But you still, the soul is eternal. The values are eternal. The work you have done, the happiness you have given to the world, whatever you have given is still eternal. It's still there. But the body is not there. So the author is saying that die before you die. And find that there is no death. Okay. So yes, it's chapter 3. And I guess the page number is 48. We are done for today. Any questions? Shine sister is also here, I guess. So yeah, thank you so much. Any questions? Let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakshi sister, for taking over. It was really helpful. So anybody, if you have any questions or if you want to share your views on what you learned today, then you can raise your hand and we can unmute you. And we would love to hear what you want to say based on today's learning. So we have one answer from Karuna sister, that I got to understand that we should remain identified and unified with our own self, our soul and Paramatma, the Supreme Soul. We shouldn't get identified with the mind, which creates ego. Then fear is created, and so does the wisdom, which we get from God. We start forgetting it. Okay, very good. Anybody wants to share their views? We also have the questions in the chat box shared by Anika sister. So the first question is, what according to you is the origin of fear? How does it affect you and take control? Only pain is that we forgot that we are a traveler only. Very true. Yes. If we remember we are a traveler, then we would perceive the world completely different. Agreed. Anyone want to answer the question? Okay, I'll unmute Anika sister.
Om Shanti. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear your voice. Sister, you are on mute again.
Am I audible now, sister?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the understanding out of what we've read is that the origin of our fear is our ego mind. So as the author explains that when we identify ourselves with our mind, the ego is very vulnerable and insecure, and it constantly sees itself under threat. So so this affects us both physically and mentally because it has many forms like unease, worry, anxiety, nervousness, and tension. So a lot of the problems today are because of this eternal fear that has overpowered us. So, as the author has said, the psychological condition of fear is always that something might happen. It's not of something that is happening now. So there comes the problem again that we are not in the present. So we really need to understand the importance of being in present to get over this feeling of fear, which is within us all the time, technically. Thank you.
Beautiful, sister. Very well shared with a beautiful smile. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so we have more sharings from Kiran sister. Originally, when we forgot about that I am a soul, wrong identification create fear of death from many births. Yes, we don't have to forget, we have to remember these things, right? I've not understood about intrinsic mind. Okay, we'll answer the question. Sometime it is shortage of time when we have to complete some task. Though I know I'm a soul, but at the moment it confused. Okay. So anyone would like to answer this question? That I have not understood about intrinsic mind. Anyone interested? Or I will go forward with it. Anika sister, will you like to? Okay, so I will explain this with an example. Okay, आप अभी जिम जा रहे हो, ठीक है? आपने जिम लगाई है, and you have your special loved one. You have to impress one girl or one boy, whatever it is, and you're going gym for it. So and whatever the girl is not, मतलब कुछ दिनों के लिए आप गए क्योंकि आपको impress करना था. That is extrinsic. जब वो लड़की भी चली गई, आपका जिम भी बंद हो गया. सिंपल. इट्स एक्सट्रिंसिक. क्योंकि आपको किसी और को दिखाना था कि मुझे कम होना है और मुझे बहुत अच्छा अपीयरेंस अपना रखना है, इसलिए मैं बाहर के लोगों के, बाहर के माइंड के या फिर किसी को इम्प्रेस करने के लिए, दैट इज एक्सट्रिंसिक. पर अगर वही आप जिम अपने लिए जा रहे हो, आप एक्सरसाइज अपने लिए कर रहे हो, to become healthy, to become fit for myself, not to show off or not to impress anyone, it's intrinsic mind. Okay, because the decisions are made for myself, by me, and for me. Got it? Anuradha sister, एक सिंपल एग्जाम्पल, मतलब एक बाहर के ओपिनियंस, बाहर के सिचुएशन से हमें ना डील करते, बट वी आर कंसिस्टेंट विद आवरसेल्व्स बिकॉज इट्स माय ओन डिसीजन. ठीक है? Anyone else you want to? Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So sister, you please conclude the session. Okay, yeah, fine. How I can separate fear from physical body? So it's a long process, and Okay, just a second. Who's this? Ansika. Okay. Switching off your camera. Hello, Ansika. How old are you? Okay. Yeah. So coming on to the question, the answer may be related to enlightenment, which means wholeness we drive within. Yes. It is. How can we separate fear from physical body? Okay. So see, it's a practice. It's more than, as you practice, you will become perfect. We can't wholly say we are not fear of death or else, but it is how much. See, knowledge मतलब समझ. Okay. समझ हमें कितनी आती है कि हम एक सोल है एंड दिस बॉडी इज अ कॉस्ट्यूम. सिंपल. एंड जो आप बोल रहे हो कि फिजिकल बॉडी से हमें सेपरेट फियर जो है वो कैसे कम करे. अभी अगर आप एक नया घर लेने जा रहे हो, और आपका एक पुराना घर है, सो आपको खुशी होगी या आप डरोगे? क्या होगा? आप खुश होगे कि मुझे नया घर, मैं इतनी मेहनत से मेरा नया घर मुझे आ रहा है, तो आप खुश होगे ना? कि आप दुखी होगे कि अरे मेरा पुराना घर मैं छोड़ रहा हूँ? खुशी होगी, राइट? तो लाइकवाइज ये जो शरीर जो है वो पुराना है, ठीक है, और पुराने शरीर को हमें छोड़कर जाना ही है. एंड जब आप इसके साथ थोड़ा सा, अगर हम उसको बायोलॉजिकल वे में अगर आप अच्छे से देखते हो कि ये स्किन लेयर के पीछे है क्या, वेन्स, ब्लड ना, बोन्स, सब फ्लैश है ना? सो इससे हमें इतना अटैचमेंट क्यों है? हमें एक्चुअली अटैचमेंट है अपने रिलेशनशिप्स के साथ. जब हम अपने रिलेशनशिप्स अपने खुद के साथ और उस परमात्मा के साथ और इन सारे रिलेशंस को एक अमानत, एक गिफ्ट समझकर हम चलते हैं कि दिस ऑल माय फैमिली मेंबर्स आर अ गिफ्ट फ्रॉम द सुप्रीम एंड मुझे बहुत इनका बहुत प्यार से ध्यान रखना है, बट आई एम अ ट्रस्टी. ये मेरे नहीं है, उस परमात्मा की देन है. तो धीरे धीरे ये जो अटैचमेंट है ना वो प्यार में बदलता है एंड जो फियर है वो कम हो जाता है. लाइक या बोथ बिकॉज वी आर अटैच टू द ओल्ड वन एंड हैप्पीनेस बिकॉज वी आर गेटिंग न्यू वन. या by continuous practice and imbibe our supreme teacher Srimad and connect with them, we can remove this fear. Yes, as you practice you will become. धीरे धीरे होगा एंड ग्रेजुअल इट विल, जो भी फियर है धीरे धीरे उसके प्रैक्टिस से कम हो जाएगा. अच्छा. I want to know that if we are quiet and beg in ourselves, what does everybody say? I am in tension and keeping quiet. Uh, no, I didn't got the question. Who's this dot dot dot? Can you please repeat or elaborate the question? Okay, if I have one question apart from today's session, how to cure insecurity? Wow, great. Huh? What to do if something triggers us? Okay. इनसिक्योरिटी क्यों होती है? क्योंकि हम सिक्योर नहीं है, पहली बात. कुछ खोने का डर, राइट. तो पहली बात हमें पता ही चल गया कि ये शरीर ही मेरा नहीं है ना? तो हाउ वी कैन एक्सेप्ट दैट कि सामने वाला हमें छोड़कर नहीं जा सकता? तो वो डर तो इट्स मतलब इट्स क्वेश्चनेबल, राइट? इट्स ऑल माइंड क्रिएटेड. या ट्रू. सो इनसिक्योरिटी से हम कैसे डील कर सकते हैं? इट्स अबाउट experiencing the freedom, the secureness, and जब security आती है, सी इनसिक्योरिटी मैंने आपको एक एग्जांपल के साथ समझाती हूँ. सी अभी मेरे पास एक पेन है, ठीक है. अभी मैं क्या करूंगी कि ये मेरा पेन है, ओके, अभी ये किसी ने और ने लिया तो मुझे क्या होगा? इनसिक्योरिटी। अभी मेरे पास एक चेयर है, दिस इज माई चेयर, मुझे क्या है? खोने का डर है कि मेरी चेयर कोई लेकर ना जाए। अभी मेरी इस चेयर को मेरे से दूर ना हो, इसलिए मैंने क्या किया? मैंने और एक चेयर लाया। ठीक है, मैंने और एक चेयर खरीदा कि मैं उसके ऊपर और बैठ सकूं, तो मुझे इनसिक्योरिटी ना हो। वैसे ही हमने क्या किया हमें लाइफ में कि मेरी इनसिक्योरिटी जाए, सिक्योर बनूं, पर हमने और ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें, रिलेशनशिप्स ऐड ऑन कर दी कि इससे हमारी इनसिक्योरिटी और बढ़ गई। पहले बस मेरी एक ही चेयर थी मेरे पास, तो पहले उससे मेरे को इनसिक्योरिटी थी। अभी तो मेरे पास 2 4 चेयर है, इससे भी अभी मेरी इनसिक्योरिटी बढ़ने लगी। समझ में आ रहा है? एक एक्सटर्नल क्वेश्चन एग्जाम्पल है, बट गेट द पॉइंट दैट इनसिक्योरिटी अबाउट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम ये मेरा है। जब हम मेरा बोलते हैं ना, तब इनसिक्योरिटी स्टार्ट होता है। तो व्हाट डज ऑलमाइटी सेज कि मेरे को तेरा कर दो। मेरा है ही नहीं कुछ, सब कुछ तेरा है। मेरा सिर्फ एक बाप है, एक ऑलमाइटी है, सब उसको दे दो, मेरा को तेरा कर दो। ठीक है, तो ये जो इनसिक्योरिटी है ना, धीरे धीरे वो सिक्योरनेस के फॉर्म में आएगी जब हम पूरा सरेंडर का जो फीलिंग है। सी, अगर आप पतंजलि के भी 8 योगा देखते हो, समाधि जो बोलते हैं सरेंडरनेस, इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, डिटैच्ड ऑब्जर्व। ठीक है, सो why we judge people when we are not want to, when we are not want to judge, it is good thing or bad, or just we observe that what we judge people, not want to judge, it's good thing. Would you please elaborate what you want to tell? Actually, you don't want to get judged, or you want to judge other people? Thank you, sister. Of course it's bad to judge others. If you're asking it's good thing or bad, because हमें अपना जज बनना है, हम अपने खुद के वकील बन जाते हैं, बट हमें अपना खुद का जज बनना चाहिए, नॉट अ लॉयर। एंड लॉयर दूसरों का बनना है नहीं बनना है, डिपेंड्स ऑन द सिचुएशन, डिपेंड्स ऑन द पर्सन, they want us to be a lawyer or not, because everyone is well educated, well sound, that they can take their own decisions, they can take their own path. So of course they require advice, you are free to guide, but not necessary you have to turn your nose into it. So okay, I guess it was beautiful interaction with you all. We'll end up the session with a beautiful music. Yes, मेरे को तेरा कर दो, and that's the most beautiful thing. So एक बहुत ही सुंदर गाना है ये, एंड डे टू डे लाइफ में सिचुएशंस में आपको हेल्प करेगा. So just feel this music and meditate. Thank you.
दिन है सुंदर सा, आज कुछ कर गुजर, भर के खुशियाँ खुद में, सारी दुनिया में भर. दिन है सुंदर सा, आज कुछ कर गुजर, भर के खुशियाँ खुद में, सारी दुनिया में भर. मिलता चल तू सबसे मीठी मुस्कान के संग, भरता चल तू सब में प्यारा सा एक उमंग, लगा दे तू सबको आज हिम्मत के पर. दिन है सुंदर सा, आज कुछ कर गुजर. दिन है सुंदर सा, आज कुछ कर गुजर. टूटे हर दिल को तू जोड़ दे प्यार से, सुंदर सा आज कुछ कर गुजर दिन है सुंदर सा आज कुछ कर गुजर करके खिदमत सबकी दुआएं लेता चल वक्त कैसा भी हो बनना है तुझको सफल बना दे तू हंसी सबकी जिंदगी का सफर दिन है सुंदर सा आज कुछ कर गुजर भर के खुशियां खुद में सारी दुनिया में भर दिन है सुंदर सा आज कुछ कर गुजर भर के खुशियां खुद में सारी दुनिया में भर दिन है सुंदर सा आज कुछ कर गुजर
Thank you so much, Om Shanti. Have a great day ahead.